Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The organ's chords roared through St. Patrick's Cathedral, bouncing off the towering stained glass windows that spilled a kaleidoscope of reds and blues across the pews. The air was thick with the scent of white roses and polished wood, and the murmurs of 200 guests. New York's elite in their tailored suits and shimmering gowns hummed beneath the music. At the altar, Elena Brooke sat in her wheelchair, her ivory gown cascading over the chrome like a waterfall, her dark brown curls pinned with a silver comb that had been her mother's. Her hands draped in lace gloves rested in her lap, but her heart thumped like a drum under her embroidered bodice. This was supposed to be her day, the day she became Mrs. Jason Reynolds. But something felt off, and as she glanced at the man beside her, a knot tightened in her chest. Jason Reynolds looked like he'd stepped out of a fairy tale. Blonde hair slicked back, chiseled jaw, black tux fitting like a glove. But his smile was tight, his blue eyes darting to the crowd instead of meeting hers. Elena pushed the thought away. Weddings were stressful, right? She adjusted her veil, her fingers brushing the comb, a reminder of her mother's strength, her father's love. She'd fought for this moment, for love, for a life beyond the accident that took her ability to walk at 10. She'd clawed her way through physical therapy, built a career as a graphic designer, proved she was more than her wheelchair. Today was her triumph, her fairy tale, or so she thought. The priest, a silver-haired man with kind eyes, cleared his throat, signaling the vows. The organ faded, and a hush fell over the cathedral. Elena's best friend, Tasha, sat in the front row, her braids catching the light, her misty eyes full of pride. Elena smiled back, drawing strength from her. Tasha had been there through every hospital stay, every late-night cry, every milestone. She'd made Elena believe she deserved this. Jason. The priest began, his voice warm but firm. Do you take Elena to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold in sickness and in health for as long as you both shall live? The question hung like a held breath. Elena turned to Jason, her lips parting in a hopeful smile, her dark eyes sparkling. But he didn't speak. His jaw clenched, his hands twitching at his sides. The silence stretched heavy, suffocating. Whispers rippled through the crowd, sharp as dry leaves. Elena's smile faltered, her pulse racing. Jason, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. He finally looked at her, but his eyes were cold, empty. I'm sorry, Elena, he said loud enough for the front rows to hear. I can't do this. The words hit like a fist, stealing her breath. Her hands gripped the armrests of her wheelchair, knuckles whitening. What? She managed, her voice trembling. Jason turned to the crowd, his posture stiff like he was addressing a boardroom. I can't marry her, he announced, his voice cutting through the cathedral. I thought I could, but I can't. Not with this. He gestured toward her wheelchair, his lip curling in a way that made her stomach churn. Gasps erupted from the pews. Tasha shot to her feet, her face a mask of fury, but Elena barely noticed. The world shrank, the cathedral's colors fading to gray. Her disability, something she'd embraced, something she'd never hidden from Jason, was now a blade in his hands. She wanted to scream, to demand why he'd waited until this moment, but her throat was sealed shut. Jason, please, she said, her voice cracking. Talk to me. We can. There's nothing to talk about. He cut her off, his tone sharp. I can't live like this, Elena. I can't be tied to someone who'll always need help. He adjusted his cufflinks like he was dismissing a bad deal and stepped back. It's over. The crowd's murmurs swelled, a mix of shock, pity, and gossip. Elena felt their eyes hundreds of stairs piercing her armor. She'd spent years building her confidence, top of her class freelance designer living on her own. But now she was just the girl in the wheelchair, abandoned at the altar. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She straightened her chin, lifting her voice low but steady. "You could have told me before," she said. "You didn't have to do this here." Jason didn't answer. He strode down the aisle, his polished shoes clicking on the marble, the crowd parting like he was Moses. Some shook their heads. Others whispered behind their hands. Elena watched him go, her heart splintering each step, a nail in the coffin of her dream. The priest hovered his hand awkward above her shoulder, but she shook her head. She didn't want pity, not from him, not from anyone. Tasha rushed to her side, kneeling beside the wheelchair. "Elena, that coward doesn't deserve you," she whispered, her voice thick with tears. "You're gonna be okay." Elena forced a smile, though it felt hollow. "Yeah," she said more to herself than Tasha. "I'll be fine," but the words tasted like ash. The organist, lost for what to do, played a soft, aimless tune, and the crowd's whispers grew louder, some guests already grabbing their coats to flee the awkwardness. Then a shadow moved at the back of the cathedral. A man stepped forward, his presence cutting through the chaos like a blade. He was tall, jet-black hair swept back, sharp features carved from stone, gray eyes storming with intensity. His tailored black suit screamed power, but it was his stride, purposeful, unyielding, that made the crowd hush. Whispers shifted, tinged with awe and fear. Elena didn't know him, but something about his gaze locked on hers made her breath catch. Tasha gripped her arm, whispering, "Who the hell is that? I don't know." Elena stammered, her heart pounding. The man stopped at the altar's base, his eyes never leaving hers. The crowd fell silent, the air electric. Even the priest froze, clutching his Bible. His voice, low and resonant, sliced through the tension. "If he won't marry you," he said, each word deliberate. "I will." Elena's heart stuttered. The crowd erupted in gasps and murmurs, but the man didn't flinch. His gaze held hers, fierce, daring her to trust him. Tasha's grip tightened, her voice a hiss. "Elena, what's happening?" The priest cleared his throat, nervous. "Sir, this is highly irregular." "Irregular," the man cut in, his tone steel, silencing the priest. He stepped closer, his eyes softening just enough to make Elena's pulse skip. "What's irregular is letting a woman like her be humiliated by a coward who doesn't deserve her." Gasps rippled through the pews. Jason's mother, Margaret, stood, her emerald dress gaudy in the light. "This is absurd," she snapped. "Who do you think you are?" The man's expression darkened. "Damon Blackwood," he said, his voice a low growl. "And I'm making this my business." The name sent a shockwave through the crowd. Elena caught whispers. Blackwood, enterprises, ruthless, dangerous. She'd heard of him, a reclusive billionaire whose deals made headlines, whose temper was legend. Why was he here at her wedding? Margaret paled but held her ground. "This is a private matter." "Not anymore," Damon said, his tone final. He turned to Elena, ignoring the crowd. "Elena, you don't deserve this shame. Marry me right here, right now. Let me give you the dignity that man stole." The cathedral spun. Elena's hands gripped her armrests, her mind racing. Marry a stranger. She'd just been gutted by Jason, her heart still bleeding. But Damon's eyes held something beyond pity. Resolve, fierce and unshakable, like he'd been waiting for this moment. "Why me?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "Why now?" He knelt before her, his face level with hers, a gesture so unexpected her breath hitched. Because I owe your father everything he said. Softly, his words for her alone. He saved my life when I was nothing. He asked me to look after you if he couldn't. I've watched from afar, Elena making sure you were safe. Today I failed you. Let me make it right. Her father, Thomas Brooke, a doctor who'd given everything to others. The mention of him stirred grief and curiosity. How did Damon know him? She searched his face for a lie but found only truth, or a truth he believed. The crowd's murmurs faded. For the first time since Jason's betrayal, she felt seen, not as a woman in a wheelchair, but as someone worthy. I don't know you, she said, her voice steadier. How can I trust you? You don't have to trust me yet, Damon said, a faint smile touching his lips. But trust. I'd rather die than let you leave this place in shame. Say yes. Elena, let me stand with you. Her heart pounded, torn between fear and a reckless spark of hope. She thought of her father, his courage, his belief she could face anything. Maybe this was her chance to rewrite this moment. She glanced at Tasha, who looked worried, but nodded slightly. Taking a deep breath, she met Damon's gaze. Yes, she said, her voice ringing clear. The crowd erupted. Gasps, cheers, protests. Damon stood offering his hand not to pull her up, but as a partner. She placed her trembling hand in his warmth, grounding her. The priest flustered, stepped forward. Shall we proceed? We shall, Damon said. His eyes locked on hers. He pulled a silver ring from his pocket, simple but gleaming. It was my mother's, he whispered. I hope it's enough. She nodded, her throat tight, and the priest fumbled through the vows. When he pronounced them, husband and wife, Damon leaned down, his lips brushing hers, soft, deliberate tasting of mint and resolve. Her breath caught his hand, steadying hers, the cathedral's light painting her skin in gold. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a vow, a lifeline in the wreckage of her day. As they rolled down the aisle, the crowd parted, some clapping, others staring. Tasha followed, whispering, Girl, you better call me later. Elena nodded, her heart racing. A Rolls-Royce waited outside, and Damon helped her in with care like he'd done it 1,000 times. The door closed and silence enveloped them, the city blurring past. She faced him, her voice firm. You owe me answers, Damon. How did you know my father? Why me? He sighed, his gaze distant. 15 years ago. I was a broke kid in Brooklyn, hit by a drunk driver. Your dad, Dr. Thomas, Brooke saved me on the street, paid my bills, gave me a shot at life. He asked me to protect you if he couldn't. I've kept that promise, watching from a distance. Today, I couldn't let you hurt. Her eyes stung her father's kindness, a vivid memory. So you married me out of duty? No, he said, his voice low. To protect you. But I'm here now, Elena. Whatever you need. I'm in. She nodded, unsure but curious. The car rolled toward Blackwood Manor. A new chapter beginning. She didn't know. Damon Blackwood, but something in his eyes told her this was just the start. Yo, if a bold move ever turned your world upside down, smash that like button and subscribe. That moment in the cathedral with Elena and Damon. That's the kind of spark that changes everything. Drop a comment. What's the boldest thing you've done for love? Let's keep this story poppin'. Richmond was a city caught between old ghosts and new dreams. Its cobblestone streets and historic mansions whispering tales of the past, while Shockoe Bottom pulsed with indie cafes and street art. I'd been here a week, tucked away in Blackwood Manor, a sprawling estate just outside the city that felt more like a museum than a home. My wedding gown was packed away, replaced by jeans and sweaters, but the weight of that day in St. Patrick's Cathedral still clung to me. Jason's betrayal, his cold words. "I can't be tied to someone who'll always need help," echoed in my head. And Damon Blackwood's sudden proposal. His lips on mine had turned my world upside down. I was Elena Brooke, a graphic designer who'd fought for every inch of her independence. But now I was Mrs. Blackwood, married to a stranger who'd vowed to protect me because of a promise to my dad. Trust. That was a long way off. Blackwood Manor was all polished marble and towering ceilings, its walls lined with old portraits that stared down like they were judging me. My room on the ground floor was a sanctuary. Low handles, no steps, a bathroom with handrails all clearly built for me. It was thoughtful, but it made me uneasy. Had Damon planned this? Was I just a duty to him? A debt to my father, Dr. Thomas Brooke, who'd saved his life 15 years ago? I spent my days sketching designs trying to reclaim the spark I'd felt before the wedding. But every creak of the manor's floors reminded me I was a guest in someone else's world. Damon was a ghost, gone before dawn for meetings at Blackwood Enterprises back late, with a tired nod. Our talks were short breakfast chats about the weather or my work, but his gray eyes lingered like he was trying to read me. I wanted to ask about my dad, about the promise, but fear held me back. What if he confirmed I was just an obligation? Tasha, my best friend, wasn't helping. She'd called from Philly, her voice all fire girl. "You sure about this Damon guy? He's got complicated written all over him. Billionaires don't just marry random chicks out of nowhere." "He's not random," I'd said, gripping my phone. "He knew my dad. He's trying to do right by me." "Trying ain't enough," Tasha shot back. "You watch yourself, Elena. Don't let him play you." Her words stuck, and when I rolled into the Manor's dining room one morning, I felt them burning. Damon was there, sipping coffee, his white shirt rolled up his jet-black hair, catching the chandelier's light. The air smelled of espresso and fresh bread, and the windows framed Richmond's autumn trees, their leaves a blaze of red. "Morning," he said, his voice low, offering me a plate of toast. "Sleep okay?" "Yeah," I said, wheeling to the table, my hands steady despite the knot in my chest. "Thanks for the ramp outside. Makes things easier." He nodded, his eyes softening. "Anything you need, just say. This place is yours now." Yours. The word felt like a lie. I set my coffee down, my voice sharp. "Damon, let's cut the small talk. Why'd you really marry me? Was it just because of my dad? Or is there something else?" He froze his cup halfway to his lips, then set it down slow. "I told you, Elena. Your father saved my life. Hit by a car, broke and bleeding in Brooklyn. He didn't just patch me up. He paid my bills, gave me a shot. When he died, he asked me to look after you. I couldn't let that bastard humiliate you, so I'm a promise. You're keeping," I asked, my voice trembling. "A charity case?" "No," he said, leaning forward, his eyes intense. "You're not a case, Elena. You. I saw what Jason did and I couldn't stand by. It wasn't just duty. It was right." His words stirred something, gratitude maybe, or something deeper, but doubt lingered. I wanted to believe him, but Tasha's warning echoed. Before I could push Henry, the butler cleared his throat. "Sir, Mr. Jared Coleman is here. Says it's urgent." Damon's jaw tightened. "Tell him I'm busy." Henry hesitated. "He's insisting, sir. Says it's about the board." Damon sighed, standing. "I'll be back, Elena. We'll finish this." I watched him go, the dining room suddenly too big, too quiet. Jared Coleman was trouble. I'd heard whispers about him, a rival who'd been gunning for Blackwood Enterprises. Later that day, I wheeled into the library, its shelves towering with books. the air heavy with leather and dust. I was sketching a logo for a nonprofit when Tasha called again, her voice sharp. "Elena, you see the news? Folks are talking, saying Damon married you out of pity to look like some kind of hero. Jared's pushing that story hard." My stomach dropped. I pulled up my phone, and there it was. Billionaire's pity wedding. Damon, Blackwood's PR stunt. The article quoted Jared claiming Damon's proposal was a calculated move to boost his image. My hands shook, the words blurring. Was it true? Was I just a pawn in his game? That evening, I found Damon and his study papers scattered across his desk, the city lights glinting through the window. The air smelled of ink and cedar, and a jazz record spun softly, its saxophone a low hum. "We need to talk," I said, wheeling in my voice steady despite the storm inside. He looked up, his gray eyes tired but sharp. "What's wrong?" I tossed my phone on the desk, the article glaring. "This, Jared's saying you married me for clout. Is it true? Damon, am I just a PR move?" His face darkened, his fist clenching. "Jared's a snake," he growled. "He's been after my company for years. This is him stirring shit to weaken me. You think I'd do that to you? I don't know what to think," I snapped, my voice rising. "You swoop in, marry me, bring me here, but you barely talk to me. How do I know you're not just keeping a promise to my dad?" He stood rounding the desk, his presence filling the room. "Elena, I married you to protect you. Yeah, because of your dad. But I'm here, ain't I? I'm not playing you. I see you. Your strength, your art, your fire. That's not pity." His words hit hard, but doubt lingered. I looked away, my hands gripping my wheelchair. "I'm not your charity case, Damon. I've been on my own a long time. I don't need saving." He knelt before me, his face level with mine, his breath warm. "You're not a case," he said, his voice low, rough. "You're Elena Brooke, and you're more than I ever expected." The air crackled his cedar cologne, mixing with the room's ink and jazz. His hand hovered near mine, and I felt the pull, his intensity, his warmth, the way his eyes saw me, really saw me. My heart raced, and for a moment I wanted to lean in to feel his lips again like in the cathedral. But then my wheelchair hit a rug, the wheel jamming, and I cursed under my breath, the moment shattering. "Hold up," Damon said, his voice soft but urgent. He knelt closer, his hands gentle as he freed the wheel, his fingers brushing my arm. The touch was electric, his warmth seeping through my sleeve, the jazz record saxophone weaving a spell. The room's lights cast a soft glow on his sharp features, and his breath was close, a whisper against my skin. "You okay?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. "Yeah," I said, my voice shaky, my face hot. "I'm not used to needing help." "You don't have to do it all alone," he said, his hand lingering, his eyes locking on mine. The air was thick, the saxophone's wail sinking into my bones, and I felt the urge to close the distance to taste the mint on his breath. But I pulled back, my heart pounding. I wasn't ready to trust, not yet. "Thanks," I said, wheeling back, "but I need to know. You're for real, Damon. No secrets." He stood, his jaw tight. "No secrets," he said. "I'll prove it." The next day, I got a call from Tasha. "Elena, you hear about Damon's charity? He's been funding programs for disabled kids for years. Quiet-like. Started after your dad died. That ain't pity, girl. That's heart." Her words shifted something in me. I looked out at Richmond's skyline, the James River glinting in the distance, and felt a spark of hope. But Jared's rumors were spreading. and the article had stirred whispers among Damon's board. They were pushing him to fix his image, and I was the problem. I overheard him on a call, his voice sharp. I don't care what they think. She's not a stunt. That night, I confronted him in the garden, the air cool with the scent of fallen leaves and coffee from my mug. Damon, if I'm hurting your business, I can leave, I said, my voice steady. I don't want to be your liability. He turned his eyes, blazing. You're not a liability. Elena, you're the only thing keeping me grounded. Stay, please. His words, raw and real, cracked my walls. I nodded, my throat tight. Okay, but I'm coming with you to Miami. Your charity's got an event there, right? I want to see who you really are. He smiled, a rare, genuine smile that made my heart skip. Deal, coffee girl. As we packed for Miami, I felt the pull again. His voice, his touch, the way he looked at me like I was more than a promise. But trust was a long road, and Jared's lies were still out there waiting to tear us apart. I gripped my wheelchair, the silver ring from my mom glinting on my finger, and knew one thing. I was ready to find out what Damon Blackwood was made of. Miami was a fever dream of neon and heat. Its South Beach streets alive with salsa beats, street vendors slinging empanadas, and the salty tang of the ocean in the air. I'd come here with Damon Blackwood, the man who'd married me in a whirlwind at St. Patrick's Cathedral, to save me from Jason's betrayal. That kiss, his lips, his warmth had sparked something I couldn't name, but Richmond had left me tangled in doubt. Was I just a promise he was keeping to my dad? Or was there more I was? Elena Brooke, a graphic designer who'd fought for every shred of independence, but Damon's gray eyes and quiet strength were cracking my walls. I'd followed him to this art festival to see who he really was. But the truth was, I was scared of what I'd find. The festival was a riot of color murals splashing across warehouse walls, pop-up galleries buzzing with hipsters and live bands filling the night with jazz and reggaeton. Damon's charity, which funded art programs for disabled kids, was sponsoring a showcase, and he moved through the crowd with an ease I hadn't seen before. Gone was the stiff billionaire from Richmond. Here, in a linen shirt and jeans, he laughed with artists, shook hands, and even tossed a kid a paintbrush with a grin. I watched from my wheelchair, my sketch pad on my lap, my curls catching the breeze. The air smelled of jasmine and fried plantains, and the neon lights painted my skin in pinks and blues. For the first time, I saw Damon as a man, not a mystery. You're quiet tonight, he said, wheeling up beside me, his voice low over the music. His cologne, cedar, and something sharp like lime cut through the festival's chaos. Everything okay? Coffee girl? I smirked at the nickname, my heart skipping. Just taking it in, I said, nodding at the crowd. You're different here. Less scary billionaire. He laughed, a rare sound that warmed me. Scary, huh? Guess I gotta work on that. This, he gestured at the festival. This is what I care about, kids like these. They're fighters like you. His words hit deep, stirring memories of my dad calling me his fighter after the accident that took my legs. I looked at Damon. His sharp features softened by the lights and felt a pull I couldn't ignore. Why didn't you tell me about the charity? I asked, my voice soft. All that stuff you do for kids like me. He shrugged, his eyes distant. Didn't want you to think I was trying to buy you. I started it after your dad died. Felt like a way to honor him. The honesty in his voice cracked something in me, but doubt lingered. Jared Coleman's rumors that Damon married me for PR still stung, and I wasn't sure where I stood. Before I could push, a kid ran up, paint on his hands. Miss Elena, you gonna draw something for us? I grinned, grabbing my sketch pad. Bet I can outdraw you, lil man. Damon watched his smile quiet, and for a moment, I forgot the questions burning in my chest. We spent the day like that. Me sketching with the kids, Damon tossing out ideas. The festival wrapping us in its rhythm. By night, the crowd thickened, and a jazz band took the stage, their saxophone weaving a sultry spell. The air was heavy with assault and possibility, and Damon leaned close, his breath brushing my ear. "Dance with me," he said, his voice a low rumble. I raised an eyebrow, my heart racing. "My wheels don't exactly salsa." "Blackwood," he grinned, undeterred. "We'll make it work." He wheeled me to a quieter corner, the neon lights casting a glow across his face, the music a soft pulse. His hands rested on my shoulders, warm through my dress, and we swayed my chair, moving with his rhythm. The crowd faded, leaving just us. The saxophone's wail, his cedar lime scent, the way his fingers grazed my neck, sending shivers down my spine. My curls brushed his cheek, and his breath was close, a whisper against my skin. "You're beautiful, Elena," he murmured, his voice rough. My heart pounded, and I tilted my head, our lips inches apart. The world shrank to his eyes, storm gray and fierce, and I wanted to kiss him, to taste the promise in his voice. But then a voice cut through a familiar oily drawl. "Well, ain't this sweet?" Jared Coleman stood there, his suit too sharp for the festival, his smile all teeth. The air shifted the jazz, souring. "Didn't expect to see you playing House Blackwood," he said, his eyes flicking to me. "Or is this just part of the act?" Damon's hands tightened on my shoulders, his voice low. "Walk away, Jared." Jared smirked, stepping closer. "Heard you married her to keep a promise to her daddy. Real noble. But we all know it's PR. You're not fooling anyone. Especially not her." My stomach dropped the words, slicing open old wounds. I looked at Damon, searching for a denial, but his jaw was clenched, his eyes on Jared. "You don't know shit," he growled. "Don't I?" Jared said, turning to me. "Ask him. Elena, ask why he really married you. Ain't love, sweetheart. It's duty." The crowd's hum felt like a roar in my ears. I gripped my wheelchair, my voice shaking. "Is it true? Damon, was it just a promise?" Damon's eyes snapped to mine, pain flashing through them. "Elena, it's not like that. Answer me." I cut in, my voice rising. "Did you marry me because of my dad?" He hesitated, and that pause was a knife. "At first, yeah," he said, his voice low. "But it's more now. You're more." I shook my head, tears burning. "More? How am I supposed to believe that when everyone's saying I'm your pity project?" My voice cracked, and I wheeled back, the neon lights blurring. "I can't do this, Damon. I can't be your obligation, Elena." "Wait." He reached for me, but I turned, rolling through the crowd, the music, a mocking pulse. Tasha found me by a mural, her braids swinging as she knelt beside me. "Girl, what happened, Jared?" I choked out. He said, "Damon married me for my dad," and Damon didn't deny it. I thought he saw me. Tasha's face hardened. That Jared's a snake, but Damon's been funding programs for kids like you for years. Started after your dad died. That ain't pity, Elena. That's real. Her words stirred something, but the hurt was too raw. I pulled out my phone, typing a letter. "Damon, thank you for saving me that day. But I can't be your duty. I need to be loved, not protected. I'm sorry I sent it." My hands trembling, and looked at Tasha. "I need to go somewhere else, anywhere but here." She nodded, squeezing my hand. "I got you. Let's get you to Seattle. My cousin's got a place there. You can crash, figure things out." I glanced back at the festival, the lights flickering, Damon's silhouette lost in the crowd. My heart ached, his cedar lime scent still lingering in my mind, the memory of his hands on my shoulders, burning. I'd felt something real, but Jared's words had poisoned it. As we left Miami, the ocean's hum fading. I clutched the silver ring on my finger, my mom's, my anchor, and wondered if I'd made a mistake. The next day, Tasha's cousin met us in Seattle, but my phone buzzed with a text from Clara. Another friend. Elena Damon's been asking about you. Says he turned down a big deal to protect your rep. Dude's torn up. You sure you're doing the right thing? My chest tightened. Had I misjudged him? The Seattle rain pattered outside, and I pictured Damon's eyes, his voice saying, "You're more." But trust was a fragile thing, and mine was shattered. I wheeled to the window, the city's lights a blur, and made a choice. I'd find him, confront him, demand the truth. If he loved me, he'd have to prove it, not with promises, but with his heart. Birmingham was next, where his charity had another event. I'd be there, ready to face him, to see if the fire we'd sparked in Miami was real, or just another dream I'd lose. Seattle was a city of gray skies and quiet secrets, its rain a constant whisper against the windows, its streets alive with the hum of coffee shops and buskers, strumming guitars. I'd been here a week crashing at Tasha's cousin's place in Capitol Hill, trying to piece myself back together after Miami. That night in the alley, Damon's lips on mine, his hands igniting fire under my skin had felt like a promise, but Jared's words had shattered it. He married you for a promise to your daddy. I'd left convinced I was just a duty to Damon Blackwood, the billionaire who'd saved me from Jason's betrayal at St. Patrick's. But doubt was creeping in, and I was Elena Brooke, a graphic designer who'd fought for every inch of independence now lost in the city that mirrored the storm in my heart. Tasha's cousin Lena had a cozy apartment overlooking Pike Place Market, the air thick with the scent of fish flowers and roasted coffee. I spent my days sketching, trying to rebuild the spark I'd felt before the wedding, but my mind kept drifting to Damon, his gray eyes, his cedar lime cologne, the way he'd looked at me like I was more than a promise. Tasha's call from Richmond had shaken me. Damon turned down a big deal to protect your rep. Dude's torn up. Had I misjudged him? The Seattle rain pattered outside, and I clutched the silver ring on my finger. My mom's my anchor, wondering if I'd run from the one person who truly saw me. Meanwhile, Damon was in Seattle too, though I didn't know it yet. He'd flown in for a crisis at Blackwood Enterprises, a financial scandal tied to a shady deal from years ago, one he'd buried to save the company. The board was circling, and Jared Coleman, his rival, was fanning the flames, leaking stories to the press. Blackwood's marriage, a cover for corporate fraud. I saw the headlines on my phone, my stomach twisting. Was this true? Was our marriage just a shield for his secrets? I wheeled into a cafe near the market, the air warm with espresso and cinnamon, the windows fogged from the rain. Tasha had sent me a link to a charity event Damon's company was hosting tonight, a fundraiser for disabled kids like the one in Miami. I needed to see him to know if he was the man I'd felt in that alley or the cold billionaire Jared painted. The cafe's jazz playlist hummed, and I sketched a logo for a client, my curls catching the light from a neon sign. A woman slid into the seat across from me, her perfume sharp roses and something bitter. "You're Elena Brooke, right?" she said, her voice smooth, her blonde hair gleaming under the lights. She was stunning, all sharp cheekbones and a red dress that screamed money. "I'm Vanessa Hart, Damon's lawyer." My guard went up. "What do you want?" I asked, setting my pencil down. She leaned in, her smile too perfect. "To help you. Everyone's talking about you and Damon, how he married you to dodge this scandal. I know you're not part of it, Elena. You seem sweet, but he's using you. Walk away before it gets messy." Her words stung, echoing Jared's lies. I gripped my wheelchair, my voice steady. You don't know me, and you don't know him. Back off. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but she stood her heels clicking. Just think about it, sweetheart. You deserve better than being his shield. I watched her go, my heart pounding. The rain outside blurred the neon, and I felt the walls closing in. Was Vanessa right? Was I a pawn in Damon's game? I needed answers, but first I needed to see him. The fundraiser was my chance. That night I rolled into the event at a downtown gallery, the space alive with art and chatter. The air smelled of wine and canvas, and string lights cast a golden glow. Damon was there in a black suit that hugged his frame, shaking hands with donors. His eyes found mine across the room, and my breath caught storm-gray intense, like he'd been searching for me. He crossed the crowd, his stride purposeful, but before he reached me, Vanessa appeared, her hand on his arm, her smile all charm. Damon, we need to talk, she purred, her voice low over the jazz quartet's saxophone. The lights dimmed, casting a red glow across her skin, and her fingers lingered, her rose perfume cutting through the air. The music slowed, a sultry beat that made the room feel heavy, and she leaned closer, her breath brushing his ear. You're in deep, but I can get you out. Ditch the baggage. My heart sank, but Damon pulled back, his voice cold. Vanessa, I'm not interested. In your plan or you. Elena's not baggage. She's my wife. Vanessa's. Smile faltered and she glanced at me, her eyes sharp. Your funeral, Blackwood. She walked away. Her heels a sharp click, and Damon turned to me, his face a mix of relief and pain. Elena, he said, kneeling beside my wheelchair, his cedar lime scent grounding me. I've been looking everywhere for you. Why'd you leave Miami? I gripped my armrests, the jazz a low hum in my ears. Because of Jared, I said, my voice trembling. He said, you married me for a promise and you didn't deny it. Then Vanessa shows up saying you're using me to cover this scandal. How am I supposed to trust you, Damon? His jaw clenched, his hand hovering near mine. Jared's a liar, and Vanessa's working with him. The scandal's real, an old deal I buried to save the company. But I married you to protect you, not to hide anything. You're not a cover, Elena. You're... He paused, his voice rough. You're everything. His words hit like a wave, but doubt clung to me. Everything I said, my voice breaking. You barely know me. How do I know this isn't just guilt for my dad? He leaned closer, his breath warm, the lights painting his sharp features in gold. Because I see you, Elena. Your sketches, your laugh, the way you fight for every damn thing. I'm not here out of guilt. I'm here because I can't stop thinking about you. The air crackled, his scent wrapping around me, the saxophone's wail sinking into my bones. His hand brushed mine, a spark that sent shivers through me, and I wanted to believe him, to close the distance, to feel his lips again. But Vanessa's words echoed, and I pulled back, my heart pounding. I need time, I said, my voice shaky. I can't do this until I know for sure. He nodded, pain flashing in his eyes. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. I wheeled away the rain outside a mirror to my turmoil. Tasha called later, her voice urgent. Elena. I dug into Damon's charity. He's been funding art programs for disabled kids since your dad passed, but he never took credit. And get this. He shut down a deal with Jared to keep your name clean. That's not a man who's playing you. Her words shook me, but I needed proof. I opened my laptop, searching for traces of Damon's charity. There it was. Years of donations programs named after my dad, all tied to kids like me. My throat tightened. Had I been wrong? The Seattle skyline glittered outside, and I thought of Miami. His hands, his voice, the fire in his eyes. I couldn't stay here hiding from the truth. Then came the final blow. A news alert pinged. Blackwood Enterprises. Faces. Fraud probe. CEO's marriage questioned. Vanessa had leaked a story claiming Damon's wedding was a distraction from the scandal, with photos of us in Miami twisted to look staged. My heart sank. She'd played me, and now the world thought I was a prop. I texted Tasha. I'm going to Birmingham. Damon's got an event there. I need to see him. She replied. Go get your answers, girl. But be careful. The scandal was closing in. Damon's board was demanding he step down, and Jared was ready to swoop in. My phone buzzed with a message from Clara Damon's asking where you are. He's a mess. Elena, don't give up on him yet. I gripped my wheelchair, the silver ring on my finger glinting in the rain's reflection. Birmingham was my last chance to know the truth. If Damon loved me, he'd have to show it, not with words, but with everything he had. I booked a flight, the city's hum fading as I steeled myself for what came next. Birmingham was a city of grit and soul, its 5 Points South District alive with jazz clubs, street murals, and the warm glow of neon signs. The air carried the scent of barbecue and magnolia, a reminder of home for me. Elena Brooke, a graphic designer who'd grown up not far from here, steeped in the Gullah Geechee stories my grandma used to tell I'd come to this city, chasing answers running from the pain of Miami's betrayal and Seattle's doubts. Damon Blackwood, the billionaire who'd married me in a heartbeat at St. Patrick's to save me from Jason's rejection, had left me tangled in questions. Was I just a promise he'd made to my dad? Or was the fire I'd felt in his kiss something real? I was here for his charity's art event, ready to face him. But my heart was a battlefield torn between hope and fear. The Community Arts Center was a vibrant hub, its walls splashed with kids' paintings, the air thick with acrylic and coffee. I'd volunteered to teach a workshop needing something to ground me. My wheelchair rolled smoothly over the polished floor, my curls catching the stage lights as I helped a girl named Maya mix colors. Her gap-toothed grin reminded me of why I loved this art, was freedom, a way to fly without legs. But my eyes kept drifting to the door, waiting for him. Tasha's words from Seattle echoed. He shut down a deal to keep your name clean. That's not pity, girl. My silver ring. My mom's, my anchor glinted on my finger, and I wondered if I'd been wrong to run. Then I saw him. Damon strode in his black suit, sharp against the center's chaos, his jet-black hair catching the light, his gray eyes scanning the room. They locked on mine, and my breath caught, stormy fierce, like he'd crossed oceans to find me. He moved through the crowd, ignoring the whispers, his presence commanding. Despite the paint-splattered kids around us, Maya tugged my sleeve. Miss Elena, is that your boyfriend? He looks fancy. I laughed, my cheeks warm. Something like that. Maya, go finish your painting. Damon stopped in front of me, his cedar lime cologne cutting through the paint fumes. Elena, he said, his voice low, raw. I've been looking for you. Can we talk? I nodded, my heart pounding, and wheeled to a quiet corner, the stage lights casting a soft glow. The air was warm, the faint hum of a soul record, Aretha Franklin's voice drifting from a speaker. You found me, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. What do you want, Damon? He knelt, his face level with mine, his breath close. You, he said, his voice rough. I want you. Elena, I messed up in Miami, letting you think you were just a promise. You're not. You're everything. His words, hit like a wave, but doubt lingered. Everything, I said. My voice trembling. Jared said, "You married me for my dad. Vanessa said it was to cover your scandal, and you didn't deny the promise." "Damon, how do I trust you?" His jaw clenched, pain flashing in his eyes. "I married you to protect you. Yeah, because of your dad. But that's not why I stayed. I stayed because of you, your sketches, your laugh, the way you don't let anything stop you. I'm in love with you, Elena, and I've been a damn fool for not saying it sooner." My heart stuttered, his cedar lime scent wrapping around me, the soul record's rhythm sinking into my bones. I wanted to believe him, to lean into the fire I'd felt in Miami, but fear held me back. "Love," I said, my voice breaking. "You don't know me, Damon. I'm not some perfect girl. I struggle. I get stuck. I'm not. You're enough." He cut in his hand, brushing mine warm and steady. "You're more than enough." The air crackled his touch, a spark that sent shivers through me. The lights dimmed, casting shadows across his sharp features, and I felt the pull, his intensity, his honesty. But before I could speak, Malik, my older brother, rolled up his wheelchair, creaking. He was a painter, his hands stained with color, his eyes narrowing at Damon. "You, the guy who married my sister," he said, his voice low. "Heard you're in some deep shit with your company. You using her to look good." Damon stood, his posture tense but respectful. "No, sir. I love her. Always will." Malik snorted, glancing at me. "He for real, Elena, 'cause I ain't letting no suit play you." I looked at Damon, his eyes locked on mine, and felt a shift. "He's trying," I said, my voice soft. "But I need more than words." Malik nodded, his gaze hard. "Prove it. Blackwood. She's been through enough." That night, Damon invited me to his hotel suite, a penthouse overlooking Birmingham's skyline. The air smelled of coffee and lavender from a candle in a fireplace, crackled, casting a golden glow across the room. We sat on a plush couch, the city lights twinkling outside. Aretha's, a natural woman spinning on a record player. "I owe you the truth," he said, his voice low. "The scandal. Yeah, I buried a bad deal years ago. Thought it'd save the company. But you're not a cover. I married you because I couldn't let you hurt, and I stayed because I fell for you." His honesty cracked my walls, and I leaned closer, my curls brushing his shoulder. "I'm scared, Damon," I admitted, my voice trembling. "Scared you'll wake up one day and see me as a burden. I've fought so hard to be enough on my own with this chair." He cupped my face, his thumbs brushing my cheeks, his breath warm. "You're not a burden, Elena. You're my home. Every fight, every sketch, every smile. That's what I love. I'm all in, if you'll have me." Tears spilled, and I kissed him slow and deep, his lips soft and urgent, tasting of coffee and mint. The firelight danced on his skin, his hands sliding to my waist, pulling me closer. My fingers tangled in his hair, my breath, a soft moan as his nails grazed my back, sending shivers through me. The room was alive with the crackle of the fire, the scent of lavender, and the way his body pressed against mine, a dance of heat and healing. We sank into the couch, his warmth grounding me. Our kisses, a promise stitched from the pain we'd shared. But the world wasn't done with us. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. Jared's at it again. Leaked a story saying Damon's charity's a front for money laundering. Board's pushing him to step down. I showed Damon, my hands shaking. He cursed, his face grim. "He's trying to sink me," he said. "If I don't fight this, Blackwood Enterprises is done." "Then fight," I said. my voice steady. "But don't shut me out. We're in this together, right?" He nodded, his eyes fierce. "Together." Then Malik showed up, his wheelchair, rolling into the center. "Heard about your trouble," he said to Damon, his tone sharp. "You love my sister fine, but you got secrets, Blackwood. That scandal's real, and it's hurting her name too. You gonna fix it, or you running like that other punk?" Damon's jaw tightened, but he met Malik's gaze. "I'm fixing it," he said, "and I'm not running. Not from her, not from this." Malik studied him, then turned to me. "You trust him, Elena?" I looked at Damon. His eyes locked on mine and felt the truth settle in my bones. "Yeah," I said, my voice clear. "I do, but Jared wasn't done. That afternoon he crashed the art event, his suit gleaming under the lights. 'Nice show, Blackwood,' he sneered loud enough for the crowd to hear. 'Hiding behind your fake charity and your pity wife. When's the truth coming out?' The room hushed eyes on us. I gripped my wheelchair, ready to fire back, but Damon stepped forward, his voice a low growl. 'You're done, Jared. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth or I'll bury you.' Jared smirked, but the crowd's murmurs turned against him. Maya, the girl from my workshop, piped up, her voice clear. 'Mr. Damon's real. He helped me paint and he loves Miss Elena.' The kids cheered and I laughed, tears in my eyes. Damon knelt beside me, his hand on mine. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice breaking, "for letting you doubt me. I love you, Elena, and I'll spend my life proving it." I cupped his face, my tears falling. "You already are," I said, kissing him soft and fierce, the crowd fading, the firelight wrapping us in its glow. His lips were fire, his breath a vow, and I knew this was real. We decided to head to Tucson, where my art was being considered for a gallery show. Malik's words lingered. "Prove it." Damon was trying, but Jared's threats and the scandal loomed. As we packed, I looked at Damon, his eyes bright with hope, and felt my heart settle. We were fighters, and whatever came next, we'd face it together. Tucson was a city carved from the desert's heart, its adobe buildings glowing under the relentless sun. The Catalina Mountains standing guard like ancient storytellers. The air carried the scent of dust and wildflowers, and the streets hummed with the pulse of art galleries and Native American flute players. I'd come here with Damon Blackwood, the man who'd married me in a whirlwind at St. Patrick's Cathedral, to save me from Jason's betrayal, whose kiss in Miami had set me on fire, and whose love in Birmingham had healed my doubts. We'd fought through rumors, scandals, and my own fears, and now in Tucson, we were building something real. I was Elena Brooke, a graphic designer who'd learned to fly without legs, and Damon was my home. But the world wasn't done testing us. Our rented casita was a cozy haven, its walls adorned with my sketches, its patio bursting with desert roses Elena had planted. My wheelchair rolled smoothly over the terracotta tiles, and I spent my days prepping for a gallery exhibit. My first solo show, a dream I'd buried after the accident. Damon was different here, less the cold billionaire, and more the man who'd knelt in Birmingham swearing I was his everything. He'd stepped back from Blackwood Enterprises, letting his team handle the ongoing fraud probe, but the pressure was mounting. Jared Coleman, his rival, was still out there, and the board was pushing Damon to sign a deal that'd save the company, but tie him to a life I wasn't sure we wanted. The gallery was a vibrant space in Tucson's arts district, its walls ready for my paintings. Bold strokes of Gullah Geechee stories, my grandma's tales woven with my own. I was adjusting a canvas when Damon walked in, his linen shirt open at the collar, his jet black hair catching the sunlight. The air smelled of paint and sage, and his cedar lime cologne cut through it, making my heart skip. "Looking good." "Coffee girl," he said. his gray eyes warm as he surveyed my work. "This place is going to be packed." I grinned, wiping paint from my hands. "Hope so. You gonna stick around for the show, or you running back to your boardroom?" He laughed, a sound I'd grown to love. "I'm all yours. Elena, board can wait." His words were light, but I saw the tension in his jaw. The scandal was closing in. Jared had leaked more lies, claiming Damon's charity was a front, and the board was demanding he sign a merger to stabilize the stock. I wheeled closer, my voice soft. "You okay, Damon? You've been quiet." He sighed, leaning against a wall, the light casting shadows across his sharp features. "Just dealing with Jared's mess. The merger'd save the company, but it'd mean moving back to New York, running things his way. I don't want that life anymore." I reached for his hand, his fingers warm and rough. "Then don't," I said, my voice steady. "We'll figure it out together." He squeezed my hand, his eyes fierce. Together. But the peace was short-lived. Malik. My brother rolled in his wheelchair, creaking his paint-stained hands gripping a canvas. He'd moved to Tucson years ago, chasing his art, and his eyes narrowed at Damon heard about your company. He said, his voice low, "You gonna drag my sister into your drama, Blackwood? Or you? For real this time?" Damon met his gaze, unflinching. "I'm for real. Malik, I love her. Always will." Malik snorted, turning to me. "He's got a lot of noise following him, Elena. You sure he's worth it?" I looked at Damon, his hand still in mine, and nodded. "Yeah, I'm sure." But trouble wasn't far. That afternoon my phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. "Vanessa's back at it. Leaked a video saying Damon's charity's dirty money, board's freaking out." I showed Damon, my heart sinking. The video was grainy. Vanessa's voice smooth as she spun lies about his funding. "She's working with Jared Damon," said his voice tight. "They want me out." "Then fight," I said, gripping his arm. "But don't shut me out. We're a team, right?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes, mate. The gallery opening was that night, a whirlwind of artists and collectors, the air thick with wine and desert dust. My paintings glowed under the lights, and I rolled through the crowd, my curls catching the glow. My silver ring, Mom's shining. Damon was by my side, proud but tense, his phone buzzing with board demands. Vanessa crashed the event, her red dress a slash of color, her rose perfume sharp. "Nice show, Elena," she said, her smile venomous. "Too bad it's funded by dirty money. You know Damon's just using you to look clean, right?" The crowd hushed eyes on us. I gripped my wheelchair, my voice cold. "You're done, Vanessa. Nobody's buying your lies. Get out." She smirked, but Damon stepped forward, his voice a growl. "You heard my wife leave, or I'll make sure you regret it." Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but the crowd's murmurs turned against her. She left her heels clicking, and I exhaled, my hands shaking. Damon knelt beside me, his breath warm. "You okay, coffee girl?" "Yeah," I said, squeezing his hand. "Thanks for having my back." "Always," he said, his eyes fierce. After the show, we walked to a community garden near the gallery, a patch of earth bursting with desert roses. The stars were out, a glittering canopy, and the air smelled of sage and possibility. We knelt by a flower bed, planting a new rose, our hands brushing in the cool soil. The moonlight painted Damon's skin in silver, and his cedar lime scent wrapped around me. "You've changed me, Elena," he said, his voice low. "I used to think power was everything. Now it's you." My heart pounded, and I leaned closer, my curls grazing his cheek. "You've changed me too," I said, my voice trembling. "I was scared to trust, but you showed me. I'm enough." He cupped my face, his thumbs brushing my cheeks, and we kissed, the stars bearing witness. His lips were urgent, tasting of mint and earth, his hands sliding to my waist, pulling me close, my fingers tangled in his hair, my breath a soft moan as his nails grazed my back, sending fire through me. The night was alive with the chirp of crickets, the scent of sage, and the heat of his body against mine, a dance of love and promise. The kiss deepened our breaths mingling, and I knew this was home. But the final test came the next day. Malik showed up, his wheelchair rolling into the casita. "Heard about the merger," he said to Damon, his tone sharp. "You gonna sign it, go back to your fancy life, or you gonna prove you're all in for my sister?" Damon's jaw tightened, but he looked at me, his eyes clear. "I'm not signing," he said. "I'm done with that life. Elena's my future." Malik raised an eyebrow, glancing at me. "You believe him?" I nodded, my heart full. "Yeah, he's my future too." Jared made one last play, leaking a story. Blackwood steps down. Amid scandal. Wife implicated. It was a lie, but the board was done. They demanded Damon sign or lose everything. I found him in the garden, his phone buzzing, his face grim. "If I don't sign, the company's gone," he said. "But if I do, I'm tied to Jared's game. I can't do that to you." "Then don't," I said, wheeling close. "We'll build something new." Together, he looked at me, his eyes blazing, and nodded. Together that night at the gallery's closing party, I pulled him into a quiet corner, the air thick with paint and desert dust. The exhibit was a hit. My painting sold out, but my focus was on him. "You gave up everything," I said, my voice trembling. "For me, not everything," he said, his hand on mine. "I gained you." I smiled, my heart racing, and pulled a small box from my pocket. Inside was a ring, silver and turquoise, simple but fierce like us. "Marry me, Damon Blackwood," I said, my eyes shining. For real this time. Not for my dad, not for the world. For us. His breath caught and he laughed, tears in his eyes. "Hell yeah," he said, sliding the ring on, kissing me hard. His lips were fire, his breath a vow, the starlight wrapping us in its glow. The crowd cheered, Maya's voice rising. "Told you they're in love." The future wasn't certain. A gallery in Florence. Italy offered me a residency, a dream I'd never dared chase. "You in?" I asked Damon, my hand in his. "Always," he said, his smile. "My home." We planted that desert, rose its roots deep in Tucson's earth, a symbol of a love that had weathered storms. Jared might win the company, might fall, but we had each other. I'd learned that true love wasn't a fairy tale. It was a fire. You tended a garden, you grew. As we stood under the stars, his arms around me, I knew I'd fight for this, for us forever. Yo, thanks for riding with Elena and Damon's epic love story. If their journey hit you in the feel, smash that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs it. Comment below. What's the richest moment in your life? Let's keep the love alive.